This has been a major week for Ukraine as it made extraordinary, unexpected strides, pushing back against the Russian invaders. Just yesterday, Ukrainian forces entered the city of Izium in the country's east, causing Russian forces to flee. Ukraine's troops are also fighting a counteroffensive in the southern region of Kherson. The Ukrainian defense minister said on Saturday that his country's allies were amazed by the successes of his troops. Zelensky said in his nightly address that Ukraine had retaken some 700 square miles of territory this month. Moscow claims its military is simply regrouping. Well, I was in Kyiv this week and had an exclusive interview on Friday with President Zelensky about the counteroffensive, his Russian enemy, and much more. We met for the interview not in a dark bunker, but at the Mariinsky Palace, the ceremonial residence of Ukrainian presidents. It was President Zelensky's first interview there since the war began. President Zelensky, a pleasure to see you again.
Thanks so much. Same about me. Great to meet you.
The last time we did an interview in person was 1 year ago in Kyiv. And I remember the most important issue for our safety was we had to stay 6 feet apart because of COVID. Now it's a different world. For you, what has, if you were to summarize what this year has been for you, how would you describe it?
You said that the year passed, and actually I have a feeling that it's a completely different page from a completely different history book. At that time, the gravest danger was COVID. Well, COVID is still the problem in some of the countries, more or less, but the full-fledged war of Russia against Ukraine has completely washed all those troubles with a big wave. The priorities of our country have changed for me personally, and I'm convinced for each citizen in this country. Certain issues that were foggy for them before, they became in clear focus, and the most important values and targets became two poles. And I believe the whole world is now between the same values and goals. Ukraine is definitely now fighting for those values.
Mr. President, let me ask you about the battle right now. It does appear that Ukraine is moving forward in Kherson, in other parts of the east. Is this the beginning of a campaign to roll back the Russian invasion of February 24th?
You know that our goal is to deoccupy our whole territory. The main goal is deoccupation. We just cannot allow Russia to continue the same occupation that they started back in 2014. Now they invaded some more. Now a pause, freezing of the conflict, some agreements, negotiations, then time passes, they become stronger, and then they keep moving forward again, or set some conditions. Well, first of all, setting ultimatum conditions, and you meet them or we will keep invading. So that's their strategy. The gradual, very slow dinner. Well, they're dining. They are eating you piecemeal, bit by bit. Like a Russian cannibalism, I would call it this way. And I don't want to play this game. I don't like this. I cannot tell you right now all the details about certain operational plans, but you understand what I'm talking about. We will not be standing still. We will be slowly, gradually moving forward. We will not be talking to them. As soon as we stop and stay still, and I know certain countries will be pushing us towards Minsk process. I want the world to recognize there's one thing is a diplomatic solution, and then Minsk 2, 3, 5, 10. That's two different things, because Minsk is an empty paper to allow Russia to rest before the next phase of the invasion.
Do you think this war can end with Vladimir Putin still running Russia?
Most likely depends on him only. Well, in this particular point of time, yeah, it might well be that he would still be leading the country while the war is over. In principle, I believe for him that's the only chance to get out of this situation. There's no other way for him out of this. Or everything will be over after him. And then the big question to the whole world will be when this time after him would come.
Would you negotiate with him at some point?
Not today. I don't see any willingness on their side to be constructive. As to their ultimatums, well, I don't care who sets those ultimatums, him or somebody else. Well, then, that's my principle. I will not talk to those who set those ultimatums to me. If this is an agreement that we will reach after they leave our territories, yes, then afterwards. In order, well, to recognize that Russia still would have borders with us. It's our neighbor with huge population. So after we deoccupy our country, one way or another, we would still have to live as neighbors.
Next on GPS, we will turn to Ukraine's biggest benefactor, the United States. I asked President Zelensky if he worries that American politics may cause that generosity to dry up. Would a Republican-controlled House of Representatives offer less money, less aid? Hear his answer when we come back. Back to my exclusive interview with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, taped on Friday in Kyiv. The country that has provided the largest support to Ukraine by far is the United States. That's true. Tens and tens of billions of dollars. There's a midterm election coming. In every vote so far, I think I'm right, the Republicans supporting Ukraine have declined. If the Republicans take the House of Representatives, which is the power of the purse, that's where the money comes from, do you worry that this American aid will slow down or stop? And what would be your message to the House Republicans?
First of all, I would like to immediately state that I'm grateful to President Biden and the White House and the bipartisan support, because, yeah, you're right, they're leaders in the size and volume of the support. Without this support, we will not be able to return our lands, and I recognize that myself, and I'm quite candid about this, and I recognize their leadership position on those matters. I know and hear the messages that you just brought up, that the representatives of the Republican Party, it might happen so, that they would be supporting Ukraine less. I want to believe that bipartisan support will remain strong and steadfast. For us, that's extremely important. You know, how we react to this? Well, by fighting, and I'm ready to meet politicians, as I'm quite open to provide the opportunities to the wide world, make everything possible not to weaken the support to Ukraine, because otherwise Russia can win this fight, and that will be the tragedy of the 21st century. It's extremely important for me that if there are certain political trends, and if they send signals that there is some weakening of our support or supporting the Russian side, like through the visa regime, we will communicate this immediately, because we will help to defend the funds of the taxpayers, of the people of the United States. They need to know that those funds are being spent to fight for those values.
You know Donald Trump, and you've talked to him a lot. We, in fact, in previous interviews have talked about those famous phone calls. He's always said nice things about Vladimir Putin. He's even after the invasion of Ukraine, I think he said he's a genius. He says things. What do you think he doesn't understand about Putin? What would you tell Donald Trump to help him understand the Putin you see?
Я думаю, що у нього було достатньо.
I believe he had enough time, plenty of time, to understand who Putin is. I think he was sitting at such a high position where it's not even possible not to recognize that he is the opponent in terms of values to your own people. And he has all the might of this country, intelligence, data, to create psychological profile, and thus you, in this position, need to understand who Putin is, what he's striving at, and what steps he will make to get there. So I was surprised that even after the beginning of the full-fledged invasion,
Donald
Trump mentioned things that he just said. I believe that he needs to look at this not only from the standpoint that this is a threat to Ukraine. Well, Ukraine, in his eyes, is too far away, but this war has no distances it could not cover. So I believe he needs to look at the situation without, as we say, pink glasses on. I don't know, probably he needed this to promote his domestic policy, to show that he's ready to find understanding with the President of Russia.
To the West, is your message, do not lift the sanctions until the complete deoccupation of Russia? Because as you know, lots of people by next year in the West will be talking about relaxation of sanctions, if not earlier.
No, we cannot lift any sanctions. We cannot agree with Russia now. We cannot discuss the substance with Russia until they get out of our territory. Afterwards, yeah, we can start talking about the sanction policy, lifting certain sanctions. We can talk about reparations. We can talk about the monetary payments from them, diplomacy, dialogue. Yes, we can involve the presidents of all of the countries or any institutions and involve in those discussions anyone from the Russian side, but after they vacate our territory, because that's the new page of the history would start from there.
We don't know the losses on the Ukrainian military side. Ukrainian government doesn't release them, but it is tens of thousands. Can you go on? Can you fight if this goes on for years?
We have no other way. And it's not our weakness, I believe it's our strength, because Russia does have a way out. They can go back home. We have only this home to defend. Where could we leave our home? Nowhere. That's why the question is not how much more victims, it's how much more victims we will have to win.
But you will keep fighting to the end.
Yes.
Next on GPS, President Zelensky and I go for a walk outside. Sounds normal, but nothing is normal in war. We know Zelensky is a marked man. Is he afraid? I ask him. After I finished the main interview with President Zelensky, we decided to go outside for a walk. Now that is a bold move for a man who knows that Russia has marked him as target number one of its invasion. Take a look. So I feel like every time I've talked to you in the past, you've been in a bunker,
Yeah.
Now here we are. We did the interview in the presidential palace. We're on the grounds. Is this a confidence that Putin can't hit you here?
Nobody knows where he wants to push rockets from the morning each day. So nobody, I think, understand it till they begin to do. Each morning and in the night, the rockets can come from any, from even Belarusian territory, from Russia, from occupied territories. It doesn't matter for me because we can't be afraid of him, and I don't afraid.
But this is probably target number one. I mean, we know that he's been trying to kill you, and here you are in the presidential palace.
Yes, but I'm like, first of all, I'm not sitting here. You have to know that is for you and for leaders, and so I'm not here. I'm in my office. Yes, of course, but that is not
the bunker.
Upstairs, downstairs. Anyway, yes. When we hear signals, we have to go to like people to bunkers.
And there are still air raid sirens in Kyiv. Right?
Yes,
I mean,
yes, on the whole the territory of Ukraine. Sometimes it goes through Kyiv to another territories, but our systems, anti-rocket systems, are working, so the rocket can come to the capital anyway. They shoot. Because the idea is to shoot each day. The idea to do house to people to be afraid and to run. Run, that means no economy, no business, no relations. Now Kyiv, of course, people are afraid because nobody don't want to die.
Right.
It's okay. It's normal. But I think we are ready to live. In this, how to say it in English, in this case, in this variant,
in this
circumstance, we are ready because our soldiers are in more difficult situation. All the money we have, we give money to our soldiers. All the money we have. Of course, also to medicine and to teachers, which also on this front line, because they have to teach children. Yes. That's it.
Do you think when you look back, when you started the campaign for president, I mean, you're somebody who comes out of TV, you're a writer, a producer, you have to be a wartime president. I think when I look at you, I think that you have two qualities that seem to have prepared you very well. One is your communication. You're a great communicator. But the other is courage. You didn't run away. But nobody in your government ran away.
Nobody. The main thing is to have real, honest people. Nobody was ready to the war.
Yeah.
It's how to prepare to the war, how to prepare your character. You can't prepare. You can do it during the war. So for today, our people, we are ready for the war. But I hope that we will not have next war. I hope so.
From a new king to a very uncertain war, there's a sense that we are truly living through history. Thanks to all of you for being part of our program from London and Kyiv this week. I will see you next week.